Hi guys, today I am back with the sixth chapter in Swords and Sorcerers by Swisskey. I am very excited for this chapter from what I've just seen of it so far. Also, I would like to say right now that I do not read these chapters before I read them to you. So whatever happens to them is as much a surprise to you as it is me. Anywho, with that now, let's get into this next chapter. Chapter 6, Green Eyes and Good Guys. Summary. In a Roman's rage, something goes horribly wrong. And Patton is face to face with something dark and sinister. Oh, this one has violence. Holy shit. Let's go, yes. Chapter text. Green eyes. Where did those green eyes come from? Patton gasped, sucking in a breath of stale air that sat heavy in his chest, coughing at the saturation as he pushed back against the cold ground to sit himself up. When did I lay down? He thought to himself, the ground hard, rough, and cold beneath his hands like stone. Taking in another breath, clearing his throat a little at the uncomfortable weight that sat deep in his chest, Patton's eyes opened. The air left his lungs as quickly as he drew it in. Those eyes. A great shadow loomed above Patton, seemingly human in form, but only those glowing green eyes vibrated as they burned into his own. Their lured light through a small portion of the room into sharp relief. He was in a great stone chamber. The damp cobble floor reached the moored walls and attached up into the inky blackness. Masking the ceiling looked like as if there was even one above him. Masking what the ceiling looked like, if there was even one above him. What was worse was that, while Patton last remembered being surrounded by his friends, he was alone with these green-eyed shadows that glared closer and closer, glaring into him. As the shadow moved towards him, Patton tried to skitter along the cobble, the floor biting into his hands as scrapes the specter form continued its grim approach. Eyes unblinking in their pursuit. The moral side did his best to not raise his feet, but his shoes slipped on the damp stone, sending him sprawling into his stomach. His breathing moved faster and faster, his heartbeat drumming deafeningly in his ears as he grew lightheaded from a heavy air filling his lungs, only added to his dread. He closed his eyes, trying to sink out of wherever he was, to find himself to his home again, to be in his soft bed, safe and secure again, against the monster in the dark. This can't be real. Logan, Virgil, Roman, where are you? This isn't real. This isn't real. This isn't real. Patton's collar went tight as he was jerked to his feet and then off them. His eyes wide open in surprise. An armored black gilder held him almost a foot off the floor. His heel shirt, tinged green, locked in the strange metal grasp. The arm the gilder was attached to was heavily armored, covered in black pallets and ringmail and and leather, leading to a black breastplate splashed with green. Those horrible luminescent eyes emerged from a vigorous slit in a great emerald helmet, shielding from a view of other details about the dark knight's face. I'm real quiet. It spoke in a low, rumbling, multi-voice tone. I'm quite real, it spoke in a low, rumbling, multi-voice tone. As real as you, it would seem. Patton's hand came up to clasp the gallet that he held enthralled, trying to pry his fingers loose to no avail. The mole side could feel tears welling up and trilling down his face as he began to beg, "Please stop." "Know this," the knight continued. "There will be no mercy, not for you, nor your friends." "My friends?" Patton thought, plucking up the first string of confidence since waking to the answer. "Where are they?" "This is fire in you. After all, the stallion observed. "There is a fire in you, after all," the stallion observed, and Patton could feel those cold, dark hands tightening even harder around his collar. "But not enough. A spark, an ember to be smothered. I will destroy you in due time, and there is nothing you can do to stop me. You simply lack the will. As for your friends, you'll be returned to them soon. However," the great dark warrior chuckled as he brought forth his other hand, armored as heavily as the one that held Patton fast, to rest over the Millside's heart, mere inches from touching him. "I have a need for you first." The knight's palm glowed green as his eyes, and immediately a fire rose within Patton's chest and stomach, coiling and withering him painfully as a scream echoed off the stone around them. It was exhilarating. The heat within the father figure burning hotter and hotter until it felt like his insides were molten and still not abstaining. He twitched within the knight's grasp, kicking and thrashing and screaming, and still held fast. "Stop! Stop!" Patton cried, his voice both a shriek and a squeak. The Black Knight was relentless as his hand surged forward, a cold touch of armor against his captive's body, proving no comfort to the mole's side as a horrible fire within him rushed to meet the cold touch. Another surge of pain racked Patton's body as the fire threatened to melt outward from within. Finally, the armor besmote the hand began to pull away slowly, and taking with him an aura of dark red. To Patton's eyes and mind, he imagined that the hand was covered in blood. The knight continued to pull the crimson shadow, doing its best to remain latched to its host, but no match for the strength of its captor. With one last wrench of the armor's hand, the oar was free, and Patton, though relieved of the burning sensation that was blazing through his chest seconds earlier, was now patronized by a bitter, empty cold. Seeming to have what he desired, the knight released Patton, who fell into the ground an exhausted heap. He gasped for breath, sweat mingling with tears as he dared to look up. His heavily armored body steps walked away. Only that horrible rumbling voice echoed off the stone. Yes, born of the Father, I will give you form. The green-eyed knight was carefully molding the blood-red mess, his attention now completely fixated on his work. Pan had been discarded like refuge. His armored hand moved feverishly as if creating a sculpture from storm clouds. Like the ore quickly seemed to begin taking some shape, led by its master's movements. Pan had never felt so drained and exhausted. What did he do to me? He thought of the others, wishing and hoping and pleading within his own mind that they had somehow managed to escape such torture. It was enough that he himself had to suffer it, but imagining Logan completely helpless, a Roman burning from within, Virgil left as nothing but a cold, miserable shell, it was more than Patton's full heart could bear. Please be all right, he hoped against all odds. As he thought of his friends, wishing more than anything to see them unharmed, a flicker of light caught his eyes. He upturned his left hand and gasped, quickly looking up to see whether his captor had heard him, and relieved to see the knight seemed to be involved in his work, to pay him any mind. Patton cast a look down at his hands again. A weak white light flickered from within. Patton looked at his hands to find the same and steady, if dim, light emerging from it. Well, that was new, he thought to himself, trying his best not to be awestruck, but to keep his wits about it. They need me. They need me after all. The glow in his hands grew stronger, and Patton wondered just how this newfound power could help him escape. He knew he had to, but did not have the slightest clue where to begin. The knight was far more powerful than he was, and well distracted, Patton was clearly still on the captor's home field. All hope, it seemed, lost. There was nowhere to go. Eventually, this force before him would finish his task, and then Patton would be disposed of. Shakily, Patton rose to his feet, knees wobbling and footing unsure on the wet stone underneath him. He looked at the knight's back and took a shuddering step forward. They need me. I was the only thought running through his head as he took another step towards the armored warrior, and another, and another. Patton thought of the others. Logan, as bright and clever as he would eventually wither without him. The thrill of discovering utterly empty without emotions to share it with Roman, for all of his drama and hot-headedness, required the most to engage, for that spark of creativity to be natured to grow. Passion was nothing without the foundation of emotion itself, and Virgil, his dark, strange son, needed him the most. He had grown so much in the last year, growing wiser and closer to everybody, and had learned that he was needed and valued, and learned his worth. The fire in Pan's chest as he stared down that green light and black armored defiance replacing fear in his heart. They needed me. Hey, mister. Do you know what's meaty and bad for your teeth? Pat asked as he placed a glowing hand on the a glowing hand on the knight's shoulder, using all the strength of his body to turn him around to face the mole side. He could not help but feel a rush of assertion as his eyes met the green ones again, wide and surprised. This one's a classic, Pan thought to himself, as that old fatherly fare returned to his sad voice. My fist! In a fairly uncharacteristic show of aggression, Pan balled his fist and struck, trying to sink all of that newfound energy into his punch. His hand collided with the metal helmet, a white-blue light shining forth like a starburst as he made contact. Steel bent into his metals, and he felt as though he had just punched a wall. But the mole side did not even seem to register his pain, as a rush of excitement and satisfaction coursed through his body. He had apparently hit with enough force that the helmet flew off the knight's head. The helmet sailed into the darkness, black steel falling onto the ground. The face that held those hateful green orbs now unmasked before Pan's very eyes. Oh, how sad for the author.